Let's get weird into it. Number 8. The edit button. Think of your memories less like a pristine DVD collection, and more like the world's most chaotic Wikipedia page, where you are the only editor, and you're drunk on emotion half the time. Every time you access a memory, that amazing first date, that mortifying moment in middle school, the time you were sure you saw a cat open a refrigerator, you're not just playing it back. You're pulling it out of storage, making it vulnerable, and then resaving it. This process is called reconsolidation, and it's where the real trouble begins. When a memory is active, it becomes malleable, like soft clay. Your current mood, the person you're talking to, the things you've learned since the event, all of it can get smudged onto the original memory before you put it back. You remember a fight you had with a friend. The first time you recall it, you're furious, so you unconsciously emphasize all the ways you were wronged. The memory gets a little coat of righteous anger paint. A year later, you recall it again, but now you feel a bit guilty. So you remember your own harsh words more clearly. The memory gets a second coat of guilt paint. A decade later, you're telling the story at a party, and you tell it as a hilarious anecdote. Now it's coated in comedy paint. The original event is still buried in there somewhere, but it's now wrapped in layers of your own subsequent opinions, feelings, and narratives. Your brain isn't trying to lie to you. It's trying to be efficient. It integrates new information with old information to create a coherent story. The problem is, that story is more about who you are now than what actually happened then. So every time you reminisce, you're not just a spectator. You're a director with final cut privileges, and you've been recasting the hero as yourself for years. Number 7. The crash test dummies. Imagine you witness a minor car accident. Two cars bump into each other at an intersection. A bit of a crunch, some annoyed gestures, an exchange of insurance information. No big deal. A week later, a researcher asks you about it. To one group of witnesses, they ask about how fast were the cars going when they hit each other. To another group, they ask about how fast were the cars going when they smashed into each other. The first group gives a lower speed estimate. The smashed group? They estimate a much higher speed. But that's not even the creepy part. A week after that, the researcher asks both groups, "Did you see any broken glass?" There was no broken glass. Yet, a significant number of people from the smashed group confidently remembered seeing shattered glass all over the road. This is the misinformation effect. A terrifyingly simple way to plant a completely false memory in someone's head. Your brain isn't a passive recorder. It's an eager-to-please intern. When it hears a loaded word like smashed, it thinks, oh, the boss wants drama. A smash implies high speed, broken glass, maybe a small, tasteful explosion. Let's add those details in. No one will know. It's not a conscious decision. It's your brain taking a prompt and creatively filling in the blanks to make the story make sense. The question itself provides a new piece of information, a suggestion, and your brain dutifully weaves it into the fabric of the original memory until you can no longer tell the difference. It's less about remembering what happened and more about your brain trying to get a good grade on the pop quiz of life, even if it has to cheat. Number 6. Memory stealing. Ever tell a friend a fantastic, mind-blowing fact, only to have them stare at you blankly and say, "I'm the one who told you that last week? Congratulations, you've just been a victim of source amnesia." This is your brain's sloppy filing system at its finest. It's brilliant at remembering the what, the juicy gossip, the interesting fact, the plot of a movie. But it's absolutely terrible at remembering the where, the when, or the who it came from. The source of the memory is often treated like a disposable receipt. The information is kept. The proof of purchase is tossed. This is why you can sometimes think a dream was a real event, or accidentally adopt a friend's vacation story as your own. Your brain stores the detailed narrative of that time someone got chased by a goose in Greece in high definition, but the little tag that says, "Told to you by Sarah, not experienced by you," gets corrupted or deleted to save space. So, when you later access the goose story, your brain, in its infinite wisdom, just assumes you must be the protagonist. Why else would the memory be in here, right? This phenomenon, also called source misattribution, is responsible for a lot of unintentional plagiarism, where writers and musicians genuinely believe they've created something new, when they've actually just dredged up a forgotten memory of someone else's work. Your brain is essentially a content aggregator that forgot to cite its sources. It's a messy, chaotic archive where the memories themselves are preserved, but the labels have all fallen off and are scattered on the floor. Basically, your brain thinks it wrote The Godfather, because it really enjoyed watching it once. Number 5. The I knew it glitch. Your brain has a favorite story, and that story is starring you, a brilliant protagonist who has been right all along. This deep-seated narcissism leads to one of memory's most persistent bugs: confirmation bias. We don't just seek out information that confirms what we already believe. We actively misremember our own past to fit our current beliefs. Think about a political opinion you hold strongly. Now, try to remember all the articles you've read on the topic. Chances are, you'll have a crystal-clear recall of every single piece that supported your view, complete with brilliant arguments and killer facts. But the articles that challenged your view? They're a bit fuzzy. You might vaguely remember seeing them, but the details are gone, dismissed by your brain's bouncer for not being on the VIP list. Your brain didn't just forget them. It actively suppressed them because they didn't fit the narrative. This gets even weirder when we look back on our own predictions. After a stock market crash, people will confidently remember that they saw it coming all along. Before the crash, their diaries might be full of optimism, but their memory edits that part out. The brain rewrites history to make you the sage who was never fooled. It's an ego protection mechanism. Admitting we were wrong, or that we once held a different belief, creates cognitive dissonance, a kind of mental static. To resolve this, the easiest solution isn't to change your current belief, it's to change the past. And since you're the only one with the keys to your memory bank, who's going to stop you? It's the ultimate "I told you so," delivered to an audience of one: yourself. Number 4. The 2-star review. Think about your last vacation. What do you actually remember? You probably don't remember the entire 7 days as a continuous reel. Instead, you likely remember a few specific, vivid moments. The absolute best meal you ate, that stunning sunset on the beach, and the absolute nightmare of the 7-hour flight delay on the way home. The boring stuff, the 3 hours spent reading by the pool, the perfectly adequate but unmemorable breakfast, the walk to the convenience store, is all gone. This is the peak end rule in action. Our brains, in their quest for efficiency, don't bother remembering an entire experience. That's too much data. Instead, they create a highlight reel based on 2 key points: the most emotionally intense moment, the peak, whether good or bad, and the very end. The rest is largely discarded. The actual duration of the experience barely matters. A fantastic 2-hour concert that ends on a sour note, because the encore was terrible, will be remembered less fondly than a mediocre 1-hour concert that ended with an amazing finale. This is why a patient's memory of a painful medical procedure is almost entirely dependent on how much pain they felt at the very worst moment and in the last few minutes. Doctors have found that if they can make the end of a procedure even slightly less uncomfortable, the patient's entire memory of the event becomes more positive, even if the overall duration of pain was longer. Your memory isn't a diligent accountant averaging out all the good and bad. It's a lazy film critic who only watches the most dramatic scene and the final credits before writing its review. Number 3. Accidental plagiarism. There's a special kind of horror reserved for the moment you realize a brilliant original idea you had wasn't yours at all. You've been working on a melody, a story concept, or a killer punchline for days, only to hear or see the exact same thing somewhere else and realize you'd absorbed it subconsciously. This is cryptomnesia, and it's a direct consequence of your brain's sloppy source tagging. It's a more specific version of source amnesia. It's not just about forgetting where information came from. It's about forgetting it came from an external source at all, and instead believing you generated it yourself. Your brain finds an unlabeled file in its archives, a really good one, and instead of questioning its origin, it stamps a big red "Property of Me" sticker on it. This happens all the time in creative fields. George Harrison was famously sued because his song "My Sweet Lord" was incredibly similar to the Chiffons' "He's So Fine." The court concluded he most likely didn't do it on purpose. He'd heard the song. His brain filed away the catchy melody. And later, when he was songwriting, that melody surfaced, masquerading as an original thought from his own muse. His brain presented him with a memory and told him it was an idea. It's the ultimate intellectual property heist, committed by your own neurons against you. So the next time you think you've come up with the single greatest idea in human history, it's probably a good idea to Google it first, just in case your brain stole it from a 1970s sitcom. Number 2. The Monopoly Man's Eyeglass. Get a clear picture of the Monopoly Man in your head. Rich Uncle Pennybags, top hat, mustache, tuxedo, and a monocle, right? He's peering through a little eyeglass, judging your pathetic attempt to build a hotel on Baltic Avenue, except he isn't. He has never, in any official version of the game, worn a monocle. Go ahead, check, we'll wait. Welcome to the Mandela effect, a phenomenon where a large group of people collectively misremembers the same detail. It's named after the widespread false memory many people had of Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the 1980s. People remembered seeing news clips of his funeral. Other famous examples include the Berenstain Bears, not Berenstein, and Darth Vader never saying, "Luke, I am your father." He says, "No, I am your father." So what's going on? Are we all slipping between parallel universes where the tiny details are different? Probably not. It's more likely a perfect storm of memory flaws. First, our brains are lazy. The image of a dapper, old-timey tycoon in a top hat feels like it should include a monocle. It fits the stereotype. Our brain uses a mental shortcut, a schema, and just fills in the detail that he should be there. Second, the misinformation effect kicks in on a cultural scale. We hear other people mention the monocle. We see parody art with the monocle, and that suggestion plants itself in our memory. It's a feedback loop of false information, repeated so many times that it feels more real than the truth. It's proof that your memory isn't just your own personal flawed hard drive. It's a networked server, susceptible to viruses from the entire culture around you. Number 1. Famous for nothing. Let's say you're part of a study. A researcher shows you a list of names. The next day, they show you a new list. This one a mix of truly famous people and some of the names from yesterday's list. Your job is to pick out the celebrities. In a weirdly high number of cases, you'll point to one of the fake names from the first list and say, "Yeah, that guy. He's famous, I think." This is the false fame effect, and it demonstrates how deeply your brain confuses familiarity with importance. When you see a name for the second time, it creates a little jolt of recognition, a feeling of perceptual fluency. It's easy for your brain to process. But your brain is terrible at identifying why it feels familiar. It doesn't remember, "I saw this on a boring list yesterday. That's too mundane." Instead, it jumps to a more glamorous conclusion. This name feels familiar. It must be because this person is famous. Your brain operates on a simple, flawed syllogism. Famous people are familiar. This name feels familiar. Therefore, this person must be famous. It mistakes the echo of a recent, meaningless exposure for the weight of genuine cultural significance. This is the same reason why advertising works. The more you see a brand of toothpaste, the more familiar and trustworthy it feels, even if you know nothing about its actual quality. You're not choosing the best product. You're choosing the one that rings the loudest bell in the foggy archives of your mind. Your brain is basically a starstruck teenager, ready to declare anyone it's seen more than once a major celebrity. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.